Well, hello everybody there, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate Investing with Jay Connor. I'm Jay Connor, known as the Private Money Authority, and the host of the show. And welcome. If this is your very first time, a very special welcome to you. You may be watching on iTunes or listening on iTunes or Google Play. You may be watching live right now as we live stream on our multiple YouTube channels and on Facebook. But wherever you're coming in from, we're glad to have you. If this is your first time here on Real Estate Investing with Jay Connor, we talk about everything that relates to real estate, from finding deals to funding deals, to automating your business, to all kinds of real estate, single family houses, self storage, land, commercial deals, you name it. So today, for the first time, since we launched the podcast, in my lands, we've now exceeded probably over 300,000 downloads and listens since we've launched. Got a subject today that we have not talked about on the show. So I'm very excited to have my special guest. And if you've been following me, you know that I have the best, amazing guests and experts as it relates to real estate investing. Well, today is no different. I'm so excited to have my special guest, who is known online as the Tax Lien Lady. And she's the author of the books, The Truth About Tax Lien Investing, and the Amazon bestseller, Tax Lien Investing Secrets, how you can get an 8 to 36% return on your money without the typical risk of real estate investing or the uncertainty, and we know about that, folks, the uncertainty of the stock market. And she's also a contributing author to the Amazon bestseller, Trust Your Heart, Transform Your Ideas into Income. Now, my special guest, she's been featured in the online magazines, New Wire Investor and Foreclosure News Report. She's also been on real estate investing websites such as www.reiwire.com, also foreclosure.com. In addition to that, reiblueprints.com. And she was mentioned in the January 2013 issue of Forbes magazine. My special guest is also known online as the Tax Lien Lady. Her articles on tax lien and tax deed investing appear all over the internet. She's got easy to follow step-by-step guides to investing in tax lien certificates and tax deeds, and it's earned her the reputation of being the most trusted authority on tax lien investing in the United States. Now, her website is www.taxlienlady.com. She has actually helped thousands and thousands of investors around the world answering their questions about tax lien investing and tax lien certificates and tax deeds, and has helped her subscribers and students to profit from this little known and misunderstood real estate investing strategy. Now, when you stay on here to the end of the show, we're going to tell you she's going to give away for free her Amazon bestseller book, and you'll learn how to get that. So with that, I'm so excited to introduce everyone here to Joanne Musa. Joanne, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jay, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here today.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you on, Joanne. And by the way, we've got live participants right now that have already tuned in. So everybody, if you are watching the live stream, of course, this isn't going to work if you're listening on iTunes or Google Play. But if you are on the live stream right now, we welcome your questions about tax lien investing. So right now, if you're on the live stream, go ahead and say hello and where you are tuning in from. I see we've got Laurie and we've got Paula on so far. So everybody say hello as you're coming in. So Joanne, before we dive into this world of tax liens, how'd you get started in real estate?
Oh, well, I always wanted to be a real estate investor, but the one thing that I didn't know how to do, I didn't have a background in finance or real estate, and I didn't know how to negotiate. So one thing I didn't like to do was negotiate. Back in 2000, I was reading books by I was reading books by Robert Allen about, no money down and real estate investing and multiple streams of income. And I tried going to foreclosure sales and sending out pre-foreclosure letters. And this was at a time when people could get loans easily and pay off what they owed. And I just back then I didn't know how to do it. Now since then I've learned how to do it. But what I found out was that I could invest in tax liens and go to these tax lien sales, and I didn't have to negotiate with anybody. And I didn't need a lot of money because back then I didn't know how to use other people's money. I didn't have good credit, and I didn't deals. You have to have cash. And of course, if you know how to get back then, I didn't know how to do that. So one thing I did know is that I had enough money. I could go to these tax sales and buy these tax lien certificates, and that they had a high rate of return. No matter what the market did, I still got the same rate of return on my investment, and it was backed by real estate. So it was a safe investment as long as I did my homework, which I learned in the very beginning. You do have to make sure that it's good real estate that you're buying a lien on.
I got you. So you started doing the tax lien business in what year?
Oh, 2002.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
you
been
really,
a little while.
so let's first be clear and let everybody make sure we're all on the same page. Exactly what is a real estate tax lien?
Oh, good question. Good question. Well, you know that your property taxes are depended on by the county or municipality where you live, who collects your property taxes. They need them to pay school teachers, build roads, pay other civil servants like firemen and policemen. So what do they do if people don't pay their taxes? Because they need that money to meet their budget. So in some states, I live in Pennsylvania now. When I started this, I lived in New Jersey. But in Pennsylvania, if I don't pay my taxes, the next year, my property will be sold out from under me in a tax
Oh,
sale. They'll
wow.
just sell the property.
The
Okay.
next year.
Well, they'll let you go a year delinquent, and after that, they're gonna try to get you to pay it. But if you don't, they're gonna put your property in a tax sale. But some states when I lived in New Jersey, they don't sell your property. They give you a little bit more time to come up with the money. So what they do after you're a year delinquent, they sell your taxes to investors. They have an auction where they auction your taxes, and different states do it different ways. Some they bid down the interest rate, because in New Jersey, the penalty, if I don't pay my taxes, if I own a property in New Jersey, there is a penalty that I will pay when I finally pay it, which is a 2 to 6% penalty. And there's also an interest per annum interest rate of 18% per annum that I will have to pay when I finally do pay those taxes. Well, guess what? The investor gets that. So that's why they are so willing to buy those taxes, because where else are they going to get that kind of investment return on their money? Not in the bank today. Not years ago, you used to be able to get that in a CD, but not anymore. They can maybe get that in the stock market, but look what's been going on lately. It's a little bit risky to do that. Now, but when you buy somebody's taxes, if they don't pay you in a certain amount of time, that's called the redemption period, then what happens is the investor gets to foreclose on that property. Now, that is their leverage that they're going to get paid. So you have that property is your guarantee that you're going to get paid. Okay. So that's why it's very important to do your research and make sure it's a good piece of property, because there's a lot of reasons why people don't pay their taxes. If I have an
Right.
unbuildable lot next to my house that I know that I can't build on, can't do anything with, and maybe it's not next to my house, maybe it's, a block away or a town away or a state away, but it's not buildable. why do I want to keep paying taxes on it? Well, I'm going to get tired of that after a while, so I'll just stop paying. So you don't want to come along and pay those type of taxes. You want to pay taxes on a property that is useful in some way. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a three bath, 2-bedroom house. If it's a buildable lot, that's good. Commercial property is good, but it's just something that you'll be able to sell or something that has value.
I got you. So comparing tax lien investing to other types of real estate investing, why have you chosen tax lien investing? Why is it a good investment versus say other strategies?
Well, it's easy to get into because you don't need a lot of money. You don't need good credit. Um, it is it is a real asset that it's backed by a real asset, which is the property, and it's in the state that I lived in New Jersey. There were tax sales all the time that I could go to. So that's how it was. It was an easy entry. It's an easy entry point for most people to get in.
Right. So is it correct in saying when a real estate investor invests in a tax lien, they're either going to earn the interest or they're going to be able to claim the property and do whatever with the property that they want to. Is that right?
Yeah, and I just want to let everybody know that I know years ago there were these infomercials, and um, people think that you could buy a lien for maybe a couple $100 and then get $100,000 house. It doesn't usually work that way. Um, I think about it. If you own, let's say you own a house, you know, that's 150,000, $200,000 house, and you have, you know, maybe $5,000 of back taxes that you owe. Are you going to let that property go for those back taxes if it's a decent property? Probably not. It doesn't happen very often. Um, so it's not really a way, buying tax liens is not a way to get property for pennies on the dollar. There are some states, like my state, where they actually sell the deed in the sale, and those are the sales where you could actually get the property. But are you only going to pay the back taxes? Probably not, because these are auctions and the price of the deed gets bid up at the sale. So can you buy it for less than you would pay if you went through the normal channels? Yes, you can, but it's more like 50 cents on the dollar, not pennies on the dollar anymore.
Well, I tell you, 50 cents on the dollar, if it's a good property is a fantastic deal. I mean, I buy a lot of single family houses, and those that we rehab, which are most of them, we buy them at 30 to 40 to 50 cents on the dollar. So it may not be pennies, but it's, 50 cents is 50 cents, right?
Yeah, and also like you alluded to, when you say most of the time we have to rehab them, most of these properties have been neglected. Some of them are even knockdowns, you know. So, and you know what I'm talking about when you buy stuff for 30, 40 cents on the dollar, you know, you kind of get what you pay for.
That's
So you
right.
just
That's
have to,
right.
yeah, so you just have to think about how much more money you got to put into it before you can turn around and make a profit
Right.
when you're buying a tax deed. But what I use tax liens for is a way to invest my money at high return, without, as the title of my book says, without the typical risk of real estate investing or the uncertainty of the stock market.
Right, right. Well, now you've already mentioned it, and you sort of chuckled when you said it, and that was you found out early on that you really need to investigate the property to make sure it's a good property, and that's probably the biggest mistake that new people in the tax lien investing do is not checking it out. So, what's your process on investigating a property to see if it is a good property, and what's the definition of a good property?
Ah, good question. What's the definition of a good property? Well, that kind of depends on what you're after. Um, as I mentioned before, I like building lots. remember, you're paying the taxes on a property. So, and the taxes on a building lot are typically lower than they would be on a lot with a building on it. And anything that could be resold, anything that has value um, to another buyer, is something that I would consider a good property. So commercial properties can be good properties, residential properties can be good properties, and sometimes vacant land, if it's buildable, especially building lots, can be good properties. But what you have to check is, what I like to check is the assessment value. I check the assessment of the property, and then I will check the market value of the property. So you might want to check comps on the property. And then another thing that I like to check, especially if I'm investing in a place that I'm not familiar with, is I want to check the crime rate in the area. So you're not only checking out the property, you're checking out the area. And Jay, you're shaking your head because this sounds just like real estate investing, doesn't it? So
Sure
far,
does.
right? Yeah.
It sure does. Now, do you invest in the tax liens just right around in your area where you can drive by the house, or do you invest in areas that are outside of your area?
Well, I've done both, but I will say I always recommend, and I do like to look before you buy, whether it's just a tax lien you're buying or whether it's a house, a deed that you're actually buying the house. And the reason is because if you look at pictures online, you might see a house there, but when you drive by it, that house might be gone. I've been there, done that. And a good thing I looked first, because the house wasn't that was supposed to be there, that was there in the picture, wasn't there. Maybe it burnt down, maybe it got knocked down,
Maybe
but
that's why
they
they
just
stopped.
they
Maybe that's why they stopped paying taxes.
well, exactly. Exactly. So you don't, and with land, you always have to look at it first, because you can't tell what it looks like from a picture or a map. You don't know what the grade is. You don't know how wet it is, how rocky it is. You don't know if it's buildable, and sometimes you don't even know if you look at it if it's buildable. So you have to check with land. I also recommend checking with the zoning officer to make
Mm,
sure that it's buildable.
right.
And you also want to look for things like road access. You want to make sure it passes zoning regulations, that you have the right road access, that it has utility access, that utilities are there where the
Yeah.
property is.
Do you,
So,
I know you've
and
got,
it's different things that you look.
I know you've got a ton of students. I mean, how long have you been teaching what you do?
Well, I've been doing this since 2002, and in 2004, I started. How I got started was I was investing in New Jersey, and I ran into somebody else who was trying to figure this out at the same time I was. Well, he asked me if I would work for him, and he had a lot more money than I did to invest, and he was after the larger liens, and I was after the smaller ones. So I said, "Yeah, sure. If I could buy liens for me while I'm buying them for you, I'll do that." And in New Jersey, unlike it is in some other parts of the country, the tax liens are not big county tax liens, they're small municipal liens, municipal sales. So there are over 550 municipalities in New Jersey, and each one has a tax sale once a year. So on any given day, there could be a few tax sales all at the same time on the same day. So I hired 5 other people and taught them how to find out about the tax sales, how to do the due diligence, how to bid at the tax sale. And I even helped the person I was working for develop a software program to manage the liens. And so after doing that, I realized there were people all over the country and even all over the world that wanted to learn how to do this. And so that's when I started my website around 2005.
Oh,
I started
wow.
teaching around 2004, but I started my website in 2005.
Okay. Wow. Well, so you're like me. I do the business, I coach, and I teach the business. And I've read, and I don't know if we have time for you to go through it here on the show, but I'll ask you. I don't know how much time it takes you, but I've read where you actually have 5 steps to for people to take to buying a profitable tax lien. Can you give us the 30,000-foot view of each of those 5 steps?
Sure. You could use the acronym STEPS, STEPS. Let me see if I can remember them first. It's been a while since I did this. But they're also all in my book. I actually have 7 steps for the complete process, because after you buy the liens, there are other things that you have to do to make sure that you're profitable. Okay.
Well, as long
Once you buy a lien.
as those, I was going to say, if those steps are in your book, is that in the book that you're going to give away here at the end of the show?
Actually, you know what I'm going to give away? I'm not going to give away the book that's on Amazon, because I don't have enough of those to give to everybody. But I have a special report called the 7 Steps to Building Your Profitable Tax Lien Portfolio, and those 7 steps are all outlined in there.
Okay,
And the
great.
first one is, I could give you the first one, and that is select the right place to invest. That is the first S in the 5 steps process.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know it's all over the board, but you got started in this strategy because it's a low entry, doesn't take much money. So what's the definition of not much money? I mean, I know that depends, but like, what are some examples of like real amounts of money people need? What's an example of being able to get started, doing this?
Okay, I'll give you an example. One of the real profitable liens I did back in 2002. My original lien was for less than $500.
Okay.
And it was in New Jersey, where I invest. They don't just sell taxes in these sales, they will also sell utilities. Anything that you owe to the municipality and don't pay can go into this tax sale. And you get a tax lien certificate, and it's just as good as a regular tax as the taxes. So this was for the water and sewer amount, I believe, for this property, and it was for 400 and change was the first amount that I paid. And then the next year I got to pay the subsequent taxes, and I paid them for the next few years. And then when this thing finally redeemed, and then I stopped paying, I think after 7 years. Now you can't let all your liens go that long, but in New Jersey you can. And so that's like being able to put money away at anywhere from 8 to 18%, and without having to go to a sale and bid. Once you have that lien, you could just keep paying those subsequent taxes. And then years later, I made over 40% on my money. I think in 7 years, that it finally redeemed, and I made almost doubled my money. And that's not the only incidents where I did that. As a matter of fact, I have another secondary lien that I bought where I put up a little bit more money, and made about 30% on my money in 18 months. So that lien was was a couple $1,000s.
Okay. So yeah,
So
we're not talking any about huge amounts of money.
no, yeah, small investors can do this when you're doing it on your own.
Right.
When you have somebody else do it for you, you have to come up with a lot more money. But when you're doing it on your own, you could start with smaller amounts.
Excellent. And the free report that you're going to give away, and we'll give out the website here in just a second, but does it tell people how to get started and like where to go? I mean, where do you go in your local area to find out where the sales are and when the sales are?
Well, here's the problem with that. It's different for every state.
So I
It's
mean, like,
different. I do have,
would your real
I'll,
estate
I'll
attorney know?
I'll tell you what, I do have another program that I could give to your listeners, and it's called the Sweet 16 tax sale website swipe file, and that'll give them 16 places they could go to find out about tax sales.
Okay.
16 different tax sale websites, because
Okay.
that changes. Now, I have a special tool that I use to find out what tax sales are coming up around the country that I give to my members. But they can find out about that after they get the basics, and find
Sure.
out if
Sure.
it's the right thing for them or not.
Well, I tell you what, Joanne, let's not hold it back anymore. Let's go ahead and put up on the screen, and those that are listening, write it down. Here's the website where you can go to get Joanne's free gifts that she just mentioned to get you started to learning about tax liens. You go to www.jayconner.com/tax lien. And just to make sure you got that straight, tax lien is TAXLIEN. That URL one more time is www.jayconner.com/tax lien, TAXLIEN. Joanne, final words of advice here on this show for our listeners and followers who want to learn about getting higher returns on their money without the risk of the stock market. Final words and thoughts.
Well, I believe the best place to invest is in your own backyard, where you know what the property values are, and you just need to check out what happens in your state, in your county, or in your town, depending on what state you're in, because it is different in every area of the country. So you want to find out what happens in your particular area of the country.
Wonderful. Joanne, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and for offering your wonderful, valuable free gifts to my folks. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show.
You betcha, Joanne. Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of Real Estate Investing with Jay Conner. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, wishing you all the best. And here's to taking your real estate investing business to the next level. We'll see you on the next show.